Hello and welcome to Firstpost Live, where we bring you the day's top stories from across the world. I am Gursshheen Gahllen, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Indonesia's historic Prambanan temple along with President Prabowo Subianto in Yogyakarta. He pledged Indian support to restore the ancient UNESCO World Heritage Site, underscoring the enduring culture bond between India and Indonesia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says it's time for NATO to open its doors to Ukraine, arguing that no country has fought harder to defend Europe. He also says Ukraine now needs stronger air defenses to counter Russia's missile attacks. Taiwan has issued a stark warning, saying Beijing's strategy of slowly expanding its control over disputed waters will continue unless the world pushes back. Officials describe it as incremental salami slicing, taking territory one small step at a time. OpenAI has confirmed that its most powerful AI model series, GPT 5.6 Sol, along with Terra and Luna, will launch publicly this Thursday. This comes following US government's approval for a broader rollout. After months of anticipation, millions of users worldwide are set to experience the next generation of ChatGPT. And the White House has invited Lebanon's president to Washington later this month, following a US-brokered ceasefire framework between Israel and Lebanon. But plans for a landmark three-way summit involving the US, Israel and Lebanon remain uncertain, with key differences still unresolved. We begin with the latest from West Asia. Just hours after the United States launched a major wave of airstrikes across southern Iran, Tehran says it has retaliated with missiles and drone attacks, targeting American military facilities in the Gulf. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it targeted the U.S. 5th Naval District in Bahrain and Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait. The IRGC also claims it shot down a US MQ-9 Reaper drone that it says was attempting to interfere with the operation. Now, following the attacks, air raid sirens sounded across Bahrain and Kuwait. The Kuwaiti military said its air defense systems were activated to intercept what it described as hostile missiles and drones. Neither the United States nor Gulf authorities have confirmed damage to the targeted facilities. This Iranian retaliation marks the latest escalation in a rapidly worsening security situation across the Gulf. And it comes even as Shia Muslims in Iran and neighboring Shia majority regions prepare for the burial of former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was killed in US-Israeli airstrikes in February. This military response came after the United States carried out its largest operations since the ceasefire agreement was reached last month. U.S. Central Command says its forces struck more than 80 targets across southern Iran. Washington says the strikes were a direct response to the attacks, one on 3 commercial ships transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. Department of War accuses Iran of endangering international shipping and says the operation was designed to reduce Tehran's capability to carry out further maritime attacks. NATO Chief Mark Rutte, too, has justified the latest American attacks on Iran.
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary because when you have a ceasefire, and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire. We see what happened yesterday with ships being attacked. I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts.
Iran has strongly rejected that justification. Its top military command has described the US strikes as a blatant act of aggression, warning that any attack on Iranian territory would be met with a crushing response. That warning has now been followed by action.
Major MOU violations by the U.S., violating Iranian adjustments in the Strait, persistent threats of further strikes, reinstating oil sanctions, attacks on southern Iran, continued Zionist aggression on Lebanon. The era of bullying and extortion is over. It leads nowhere. We don't fold.
with missiles fired, US bases targeted, an American drone reportedly shot down, and the ceasefire under growing strain, the confrontation between Washington and Tehran has entered its most dangerous phase since the agreement was signed last month. Another twist is emerging in the relationship between Donald Trump and Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Just weeks after a bitter war of words that strained ties between Washington and Rome, Trump now says Meloni is a nice person. And the question everyone is asking is whether the two leaders are going from frenemies to friends. Speaking at the NATO summit in Ankara, Trump praised Meloni personally, but made it clear he believed Italy had made the wrong decision. According to Trump, that disagreement damaged their relationship.
Well, I don't know. I think she's a nice person, actually. We had a bad relationship. It became a little bad because she refused to help us. Again, I didn't put a heavy press on her, but she refused to get involved with the Hormuz Strait, or you could also say just Iran. She refused to get involved. So it soured my relationship with her a little bit. But I like her. I think she's a nice person, actually, but I think she made a mistake.
Meanwhile, Meloni has downplayed the tensions, saying her relationship with Trump remains stable. She insisted that the two leaders continue to share cordial ties despite their recent public spats. Now, not long ago, Donald Trump openly criticized Giorgia Meloni over Italy's refusal to back the United States during its military campaign against Iran. Before the Iran conflict, Trump and Meloni were seen as one of the closest political pairings in the West. Both shared similar conservative views on immigration, national sovereignty, and even security. In fact, ties were so close that Italian Prime Minister was the only European leader who attended Trump's inauguration in 2025. Looking at which, many believed Italy had become Washington's closest partner in Europe. But the relationship slowly began to crack. The first public disagreement came after Trump criticized Pope Leo over the comments on Iran. Meloni defended the pontiff. Trump certainly wasn't pleased. Then came another flashpoint. Trump accused Italy of refusing to help secure the Strait of Hormuz during the West Asia conflict. And Rome rejected his criticism. The divide widened further. Italy reportedly refused permission for US military aircraft to use an airbase in Sicily, saying Washington had not obtained the required approval. And that disagreement quickly turned into a diplomatic issue, slowly turning personal.
We did not take part in the conflict with Iran. If we had, frankly, it would not explain this sense of disappointment that is repeatedly expressed by the US president, as you know, quite often. We fulfilled our commitments by allowing the use of bases for activities that were not kinetic in nature but logistical and technical. And when requests went beyond that scope, as you know, because it has been widely reported, we did not grant authorization for their use.
Recently, Trump shared a doctored image of Meloni on Truth Social, showing her looking up at him with the words, "restraining order needed." Days earlier, he had also claimed Meloni had reportedly begged for a photograph with him during the G7 summit. And if that wasn't enough, he even suggested her popularity in Italy came from standing up to the United States. Meloni obviously did not stay silent. She dismissed Trump's claims as completely made up and publicly criticized his behavior. Listen to this.
So certain things merit an immediate reply. Donald Trump's declarations are completely fabricated. I am frankly stunned. I don't know why the President of the United States behaves this way toward his own allies. After all, this isn't the first time this has happened. I can only say that it's a shame he doesn't show the same resolve toward the enemies of the West, toward the enemies of the United States, toward leaders with whom he, on the other hand, is much more accommodating. But there's one thing he must remember. Italy and I do not beg.
The fallout then reflected on diplomatic engagements. Italy's Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Antonio Tajani cancelled a planned visit to Miami. Cut to today. Despite the recent attacks, Trump has once again called Meloni a nice person. But he has not withdrawn his criticism of Italy's position on Iran. So the disagreement remains, only the tone has changed. The two leaders are expected to share the stage at the NATO summit. Whether it becomes a fresh start or the setting for another public clash, the next chapter in this uneasy Trump-Meloni relationship is about to unfold. At the NATO summit, Donald Trump once again declared that Greenland should belong to the United States and not Denmark, arguing that the Arctic has become too important to leave to others. The remarks have reopened an issue that has been a source of tension between Washington and Copenhagen. The statement came during his meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and quickly dominated discussions at the summit. Now, for context, Greenland is a semi-autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. So while Denmark handles its foreign policy and defense, Greenland manages most of its internal affairs. But for Trump, the island is far more than just a Danish territory. He argued that Greenland holds immense strategic value for the United States, particularly as China and Russia expand their presence in the Arctic region.
Greenland doesn't help Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to really help Greenland, but it's an important part for the United States. And it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships. And that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It was Greenland that, and it continues to be, that should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spend to help them with Russia, and we don't have to spend any money, we could remove all of our soldiers out of Europe.
The US president also repeated his long-standing criticism of Denmark, saying Copenhagen has not invested enough in Greenland's security, despite receiving American support through NATO. Trump said the dispute over Greenland had even damaged his relationship with the NATO alliance. Denmark responded swiftly. Danish Prime Minister made it clear that the position of her government has not changed. She said all NATO allies should respect the sovereignty of the Danish kingdom. She also reiterated that Greenland is not for sale and that there are no plans to discuss its status during the summit. The US president also used the NATO summit to renew his pressure campaign on European allies. He accused several NATO members of failing to shoulder their share of the security burden.
I was very disappointed with NATO. And frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where my friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person, it's possible that I wouldn't have attended. I felt I had to attend because of the fact that, I know he's gone all out. It was a big thing to have NATO come to Turkey or any place else. It's a big thing. But we weren't treated well because we did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there.
Trump singled out major European powers, including Britain, France, Germany and Italy, saying they did not do enough to support the US during the conflict with Iran. Even as he said America did not need military assistance, he argued that many allies had been quick to distance themselves from Washington.
We helped them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay. But, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not there for us? We've always been there for them.
Trump also refused to rule out the possibility of further reducing the American military presence in Europe, keeping alive questions about his long-term commitment to NATO. But despite the political tensions, the summit also delivered major defense announcements. NATO members unveiled new arms purchases and defense agreements worth an estimated $72 billion. The deals included European countries buying advanced surveillance drones from the US, while NATO also moved forward with the purchase of new aircraft from Sweden. In another significant development, Trump indicated he was prepared to ease sanctions on Turkey that had been imposed after Ankara purchased Russian S-400 air defense systems. He also expressed a willingness to move ahead with the sale of F-35 stealth fighter jets to Turkey, a move that could reshape defense cooperation between the two NATO allies. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte called for what he described as a defense industry revolution.
We are on the cusp of the transatlantic defense industrial revolution. I'm asking you to take a leap and show our people that we are ready and capable to protect them anywhere at any time. And show Russia and all those watching today that the transatlantic defense industrial base is mobilizing with purpose.
For many Western allies, the goal of this summit was not just to announce new defense projects. It was also to ensure that the US remains fully engaged in NATO at a time when the war in Ukraine, tensions in West Asia, and growing competition with China have made alliance unity more important than ever. An unusual display has turned heads at one of the United States' largest air shows. Among the participating aircraft was a Chinese-built military trainer jet, flown not by China, but by the United Arab Emirates National Aerobatic Team. The appearance has sparked interest across the global defense community. The UAE's Fursan Al Emarat Aerobatics display team took part in the four-leaf air show at Jones Beach in New York from July 4 to 6. During the event, the team performed a series of high-speed aerial maneuvers using the Chinese-built Hongdu L-15E advanced trainer aircraft. The UAE Ministry of Defense later described the visit as a success, saying the team delivered spectacular aerial displays throughout its American tour. But perhaps the biggest talking point is the irony of this moment. The Chinese-built military aircraft was performing at one of America's largest air shows, in a country which remains Beijing's biggest strategic rival across trade, technology, and even defense. The L-15E was not there as part of a Chinese military display. It was flown by the UAE's National Aerobatic Team, which operates the aircraft after purchasing it from China. The L-15E is a fourth-generation advanced trainer designed to prepare pilots for modern fighter aircraft. It is equipped with a fully digital fly-by-wire flight control system, which uses computers to translate pilots' inputs into precise aircraft movements. According to reports, each engine can program up to 4,200 kilogram force of thrust. The aircraft can reach an altitude of more than 52,000 feet, and its design allows it to perform high-angle maneuvers commonly demonstrated during aerobatic displays. The timing of this airshow appearance makes the story even more interesting. China carried out a highly scrutinized test of a submarine-launched, nuclear-capable ballistic missile into the Pacific Ocean. The test immediately drew criticism from the US, along with Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and other regional partners. The US also urged Beijing to engage in meaningful arms control talks and to provide regular advance notification of intercontinental missile launches, in line with practices followed by other nuclear powers.
At a time when the United States is working harder than ever to prevent nuclear proliferation, China is doing the opposite. Beijing's rapid and opaque nuclear weapons buildup is of great concern to the region and the world.
For China, the airshow offered an opportunity to place one of its modern military aircraft in front of thousands of spectators. As global defense manufacturers compete for international customers, public appearances like this have become important showcases for technology, performance, and reliability. And this time, the spotlight fell on a Chinese-built aircraft, performing above American size under the UAE's flag in front of a global audience. The US has dropped a bombshell in connection with the murder of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Washington has now charged jailed Indian gangster Lawrence Bishnoi and his alleged North American deputy Satinderjeet Singh alias Goldy Brar over the assassination that shook India-Canada ties. In an unsealed federal indictment, the US has officially named the duo. According to court documents filed in Los Angeles, Bishnoi ordered Nijjar's assassination while sitting inside an Indian jail. Investigators say he used smuggled mobile phones to direct the operation. He allegedly shared Nijjar's photograph and multiple addresses with a co-conspirator before the attack.
7 of the defendants, including the organization's figurehead, the gang's North American leader, Goldy Brar, and the gang's European leader, Rot Gadara, are charged with racketeering conspiracy. The charges set forth in the indictment include allegations that Lawrence Bishnoi and Goldy Brar directed the 2023 assassination of a prominent Sikh leader in Canada, identified by his initials HSN in the indictment.
The indictment also draws a clear line. It accuses Bishnoi and Brar, but it does not allege any involvement by the Indian government. At a press conference in Los Angeles, US officials said that New Delhi had no role in or prior knowledge of the killing. Nijjar was shot dead outside a Sikh temple in Surrey, British Columbia. The indictment identifies him only as HSN, but links the charges directly to the killing that sparked a diplomatic storm. Nijjar's murder left a deep mark on India-Canada relations. The assassination triggered one of the worst diplomatic crises between the two countries. Then Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau publicly linked New Delhi to the murder. India rejected those allegations, calling them absurd and politically motivated.
We've seen media reports about Canadian Commission inquiring into foreign interference, and there have been some related developments as well. We strongly reject all such baseless allegations of Indian interference in Canadian elections. It is not Government of India's policy to interfere in democratic processes of other countries. In fact, quite on the reverse, it is Canada which has been interfering in our internal affairs. We have been raising this issue regularly with them. We continue to call on Canada to take effective measures to address our core concerns.
Relations between Ottawa and New Delhi have since improved under the current Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. This latest crackdown is likely to strengthen New Delhi's long-standing position that such gangs pose a serious cross-border threat. While Bishnoi remains behind bars in India, Goldy Brar is still on the run, with the FBI declaring him wanted and announcing a reward on him. US investigators say Brar managed the gang's North American operations and helped coordinate activities across borders. The case is part of a much larger crackdown. Law enforcement agencies in the United States, Canada and Spain launched what they called Operation Hardball. The operation led to 24 arrests across 3 countries, and charges were filed against 37 accused.
These are violent gangster thugs, and they did bad things, they did violent things, and they stole drugs from other gangsters. Nobody was off limits for them.
In the United States alone, 11 arrests were made in California. Those accused are now due to appear before a federal court. 3 more arrests were made in Canada, 1 was made in Spain, and 7 accused were already in custody.
Our work today makes our communities, cities, provinces, states, and countries much safer. But it also is a symbol of something even greater. Strong and reliable collaboration that made this operation possible. Information sharing and intelligence sharing that translated into action that led to the takedown of these groups. The world has gotten smaller. These groups operate transnationally, and so must law enforcement.
But the operation is not over. Investigators are still hunting 10 fugitives. 7 are believed to be in the United States. 2 are believed to be in India, and 1 is believed to be somewhere in Europe. US investigators say the probe uncovered a network involved in racketeering, targeted killings, shootings, extortion, and international drug trafficking. That's all for now. Thank you for joining us. I am Gursshheen Gahllen, and we'll see you right back here with more updates on Firstpost Live at 3. Until then, stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.
The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news? From battlefields to negotiation tables, from internet outrage to real-world injustice. The conversations everyone is having and the ones they're avoiding. It's the same show, but this new year, Firstpost America gets a new look. I'm Kerry Johnston, and this is Firstpost America.